We've all heard the phrase, ignorance is bliss. It comes from Thomas Gray's 1742 poem, where ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise. Gray was reflecting on youth, that sweet, fleeting stage before life's burdens crash in. His point was simple. If you don't know the weight of the world, you can live in carefree joy. But beneath that comfort is a cost. Hey, friends, it's Veronica. Welcome back. Today's message is for anyone who's ever held on to a belief, a habit, or even a reaction, not because it was helpful, but because it was familiar. If you've ever said, that's just who I am, or snapped at someone you love and felt guilty after, this is for you. Because sometimes what feels safe, our routines, our reactions, our stories, actually cost us. It costs us presence, energy, connection, and ultimately, freedom. They say ignorance is bliss, but really, ignorance is predictability, the mind looping the same patterns again and again. And those loops cost us growth, connection, and choice. So if ignorance is predictability, awakening is awareness. And that's where meditation becomes the bridge. Meditation isn't about sitting still with an empty mind. It's about training yourself to pause in the middle of the automatic, to notice the moment between trigger and reaction, to meet yourself instead of avoiding yourself. And yes, you'll hear people say, but meditation won't stop a panic attack in the moment. And they're right. If you never practiced before, trying it in the middle of chaos will feel impossible. But that's not the point. Meditation is training. It's preparing in calm so that when the storm comes, you're ready. Think of it like a marathon. You don't train for the first time at the starting line. You train ahead of time. Meditation works the same way. It doesn't erase discomfort, but it equips you to meet it without spiraling. This is why meditation is so powerful. It's not just something you do. It's a foundation you build, one you'll carry with you for the rest of your life. And because awareness isn't built in one conversation, I've created resources to walk with you as you practice. You can find free practices linked in the description or sign up for my newsletter if you'd like those reflections delivered straight to your inbox. And if you're looking for more personalized guidance, you'll also find details there about working with me one-on-one. However you choose, know that resources are always waiting for you. And if this resonates, please like and subscribe. Your support helps this message reach others who might need it. So grab a warm drink, take a breath with me, inhale, exhale, and let's begin. Ignorance feels peaceful because it shields us from the hard truths. But if you avoid what you don't want to see, illusion becomes your reality. You start living life as if the surface story is all there is. This is where avoidance becomes attachment. When you run from truth, the mind demands something else to fix on. Possessions, identities, roles, routines. The mind cannot sit empty on its own. It will cling. But there's another cost of ignorance we rarely name: rigidity. When you believe reality can only exist one fixed way, you deny the possibility of anything outside that view. Even if your belief is partly true, refusing to question it closes the door to deeper awareness. Why? Because an open mind can entertain the opposite without fear. If you can't pause and ask, what if this isn't true? Then your own belief system has become a cage. Sometimes this hesitation comes from fear. That questioning might mean betraying yourself or admitting uncertainty. But refusing to question keeps you locked in illusion. mistaking predictability for truth. This is where meditation becomes essential. Meditation slows the default mode of the mind, the automatic loops where subconscious beliefs live. Those loops help you function, but they can also trap you in the same patterns. Through practice, meditation trains the mind to pause, discern, and reason with clarity. This shift moves you from automatic predictability into higher intellect, buddhi, where you can think critically, see from new angles, and expand consciousness. If you can do this within yourself, holding space for the possibility that your view may not be the whole view, then you prepare yourself for conversations with others who see differently. Instead of resisting or rejecting them, you're able to sit in dialogue with wonder and curiosity. Meditation opens this capacity to step out of the echo chamber of your own mind and into a wider, more spacious awareness. I saw this in myself one night with my son. He came to me at bedtime with a school project that was due the next day, like many of us parents do. Instead of listening, I snapped, lecturing him for waiting until the last minute. What I really wanted was my own routine, the quiet space after he went to bed when I usually turned to meditation and breath work. His simple request interrupted that, and my irritation boiled over. Then I saw his face, hurt, and immediately guilt rose up. In that moment, I could have ignored it. I could have told myself the story I've heard so often: don't fall into mom guilt. It's just a trap. But instead, I followed the guilt, not to shame, but to curiosity. Why did I react this way? What belief was underneath? I realized I wasn't just reacting to him, I was replaying an old pattern, the child in me who once felt like a burden to my own mother. Without pausing, I would have handed that same story down to him. Meeting my guilt instead of ignoring it gave me the chance to stop that cycle. Guilt, uncomfortable as it is, became a teacher. It showed me that my irritation wasn't really about him. It was about my attachment to my routine and the unexamined belief that his needs had interrupted my worth. By meeting it, I could choose differently, to guide him with compassion instead of shame. Ignorance shields us, but at a cost. It breeds attachment and locks us into rigid beliefs. Ignorance isn't just about not knowing, it's refusing to meet what arises, whether an uncomfortable truth, a rigid belief, or even a guilty feeling. Meeting these moments with awareness opens the possibility of change. Ignoring them only repeats the old pattern. What is one belief you hold tightly that you've never allowed yourself to question? Can you sit with the possibility, just for a moment, that it may not be entirely true? In the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali calls this ignorance avidya, the first and root of the 5 causes of suffering. Avidya means misseeing or ignorance, mistaking the impermanent for permanent, mistaking suffering for pleasure, and mistaking the not self for the self. From that root come ego or asmita, attachment, raga, aversion, dvesha, and fear of death, abhinivesha. Where Gray saw ignorance as temporary bliss, Patanjali exposes it as the source of bondage. In yoga, bliss doesn't come from avoiding truth. It comes from piercing through illusion until the seer, the true self, rests in its own nature. Awakening often begins with disillusionment. The world you thought was solid falls apart. You see how much of your life and your family's lives have been built on illusion. This stage is lonely because once the veil lifts, you can't unsee it. You may even understand why people fall back into old illusions. It feels safer, familiar. Anger, disappointment, bitterness. These are all the ways of fighting disillusionment instead of moving through it. But if you can stay, if you can sit in the stillness Patanjali points to, you begin to see disillusionment not as destruction, but as a doorway. When I realized one of the core stories I built my life around wasn't true, it felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. For weeks, I kept wanting to turn back, just to feel safe again. Meditation became the rope I held onto, reminding me this collapse isn't the end, it's the beginning. Disillusionment feels like loss, but it is really clearing space for truth. What was one moment of disillusionment in your life? How did you respond? By turning back or by moving through it? If ignorance blinds and attachment binds, then meditation is the tool that loosens the knots. Patanjali places abhyasa, the practice, at the heart of the path. And meditation is the most direct form of that practice. When the mind is restless, it clings to roles, possessions, distractions, illusions. Meditation strengthens the opposite capacity to return again and again to the present moment. Each time you notice your mind drifting, bring it back. You train attention the way a muscle is trained through repetition. Over time, the steadiness becomes inner strength. Modern neuroscience echoes Patanjali's insight. Consistent meditation reshapes the brain's networks of attention, making focus sharper and reactivity softer. In a world of constant input, this is no small gift. Meditation doesn't erase disillusionment, it steadies you in the midst of it. When the stories fall apart, meditation provides a ground deeper than story, awareness itself. And from there, the discomfort of disillusionment becomes bearable, even transformative. And this is why meditation belongs right at the heart of Patanjali's path. It prepares us to face what comes next. For when illusions collapse, what rises is not just disillusionment, but the opportunity to meet truth with steadiness. What would it look like to commit to 10 minutes of stillness each day, not to escape illusion, but to see through it? Meditation trains the mind to pause, discern, and return, transforming discomfort into clarity. Meditation isn't just something I do on a cushion. It has become one of the greatest gifts of my life because it opens me to an entirely new way of living. When I don't give myself that space, especially when life gets challenging, I slip back into old patterns or even into new habits that need clearing out. Meditation, then, is not a rigid routine. It's a daily practice of making space. Just like when we don't reserve spring cleaning for spring, meditation is a continual clearing of the mind. It reveals the places where I've been operating on autopilot, and it offers me the choice to grow beyond them. And this is why I no longer see meditation, mindfulness, and mindset as separate paths. They are one thread. Mindset work without mindfulness easily recycles old patterns because it relies on the default mode network, the mind's library of what already exists. Meditation interrupts that network, operating the door to buddhi, higher intelligence, true discernment. This is where real thinking takes place. Judgment and discernment may look alike, but they are not the same. Judgment narrows, recycles what is already exists. Discernment opens up to what is possible. And discernment requires curiosity, wonder, and the willingness to step beyond what is predictable. Meditation makes that possible. At its heart, meditation gifts us presence, and presence lived fully is love. Ignorance feels like bliss because it delays pain. Awareness feels like disillusionment because it dissolves illusion. But once you pass through, not attachment allows you to meet life as it is, not with clinging, but with presence. And yet, the cost of ignorance isn't just avoidance, it is also rigidity, the unwillingness to question what you already believe. Meditation trains the mind to soften this rigidity, to pause long enough to see that life may hold more than just one perspective. Where the mind insists on certainty, meditation creates space for curiosity. So maybe the real reflection is this. Are you leaning into grace comfort, bliss through avoidance? Or are you walking Patanjali's path, bliss through awareness? And within that path, are you willing to question even your own beliefs? Or do you cling to them as if letting go would mean losing yourself? One collapses when reality knocks, the other remains unshaken because it rests on truth. Where in your life are you tempted to choose the comfort of ignorance, whether through avoiding truth or clinging to rigid certainty? And where are you ready to walk into the doorway of awareness, curiosity, and openness? Choose one moment today to pause before reaching for your phone, before defending a belief, before reacting. Notice the urge without acting on it. What do you feel in that pause? So, as we've explored today, ignorance might feel like bliss, but really, it's just predictability. And predictability isn't freedom. Meditation gives us that pause, that space between reaction and choice, where awareness begins and healing becomes possible. Here are two things I hope you'll take with you. One, ignoring yourself always comes at a cost. Meeting yourself, even in discomfort, is where freedom lives. And number two, meditation is not an escape. It's a practice of resilience, a muscle you build so you can return to yourself again and again. They say ignorance is bliss, but the truth is, awareness is freedom. And every time you pause, every time you return to your breath, every time you choose presence over a pattern, you're stepping into that freedom. Meditation isn't about escaping life. It's about equipping yourself to meet life fully, even in the hard moments, especially in the hard moments. So here's my invitation this week when you catch yourself in an old loop, snapping, avoiding, distracting, just pause and stop. Breathe. Notice. That tiny act is how transformation begins. If today's message resonated with you, share it with someone who might need this reminder and subscribe so we can keep walking this path together. And remember, the gift isn't in running away. The gift is in returning to yourself. And if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, please drop a comment and share your own experiences. Your reflections may be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And if you'd like to go even deeper, you'll find free guided practices and reflections on my website. It will be linked in the description. You can also sign up for my newsletter to have those practices sent directly to your inbox, or reach out if you'd like one-on-one support. And if you feel called to support the mission of creating and sharing this work more widely, there is a donation link below and on my site. Ignorance may feel safe, but awareness is where freedom begins. And every time you choose awareness, you're not just healing yourself, you're helping to heal the whole. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you on the next one. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.